strings to your bow. I'm Chloe Weatherhead, your host and the proud owner of Andiamo Business Assistants. This is a podcast where we dive into the unique skills, experiences and superpowers that shape our guests' success. Every week we uncover the journeys behind the businesses, how personal experiences, unexpected twists and hard-earned lessons contribute to professional growth and innovation. This week I'm thrilled to be joined by Laura, who helps people uncover their true selves and design a life that aligns with their purpose. By blending psychology, astrology and human design, Laura empowers her clients to break through limiting patterns, whether in relationships, business or personal growth. Her direct and practical approach makes transformation accessible and powerful. Laura, it's fantastic to have you here. Let's start by getting to know you a little bit better. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Chloe. I'm hyped to be here. And yeah, I'm esoteric psychologist. So basically, where most therapies are either just psychology or spirituality, I combine them both because I see such a enormous value in both of those fields. So I could never just choose one. So my journey started very, very long time ago, really. When I think about it, I've always been fascinated by esoterics and psychology. I've always been fascinated why people are the way they are. I always find people to be fascinating, why they do the things they do and why some get stuck and some people can move through really hard things and so on. And when I look back, I remember at the age of 14, as part of my high school project, I wrote a research project for a university on different types of love based on psychiatrist Eric Fromm. So obviously there's always been an interest, but I never kind of gone to study it.
Yeah.
And then my life kind of changed. I lost my dad really early and I had this very felt father wound. And my mum was very distant. I felt distant. She was overworked because my dad wasn't reliable even when he was there. And so I also had the mother wound of that disconnect, emotional disconnect. So all of those kind of very early experiences also created unhelpful patterns for myself in relationships. I had a very avoidant attachment style in relationships. And because of all of those early experiences as well, and my interest in psychology, I always was reading something or listening to something that I was trying to make sense of me and my life and my existence. So that's how it started. But I never went to study psychology. I went to study marketing. And then I moved to UK. I'm originally from Latvia. Okay. I moved to UK at 22. And despite of me already being very independent, I lived semi-independent at high school age. So, but that was like starting your life from scratch, from literally zero. And that really taught me resilience. And I think one of, my strengths is definitely resilience, although having very huge amounts of responsibility for myself at early age, and now we're talking my childhood, probably some of that resilience was trauma response. But I, obviously gone through that, and now I can see that some of it was trauma response and some really taught me the resilience. And then, like anyone, going through life, I had also PTSD, experienced that, divorce, different career changes. And at that point, I think I already started studying Vedic astrology quite in depth. And that explains so much about me, people in my life, that I was like, oh my God, this is something super, super interesting and can really help. And then I started already doing kind of birth chart analysis for friends, family, word of mouth, but I still had a really strong corporate career. I worked in talent acquisition for 20 years. So it's applied psychology, because obviously you're matching the right people to the right jobs. I was always in-house, so it was never about selling it like a recruitment agency. It was always in-house, so you try to match the, you know, the best people possible with those roles and so on. And yeah, and then I think after my divorce, I decided to go back to university, did masters in psychology, and was very proud getting distinction in my third language. That was like, you know, nice that you can do it, you know, because it was one of the things that I always wanted to do. But it wasn't the, at the time I went to university, everybody went to study economics or law. Psychology was like, why would you want to do psychology? You can't earn money by doing psychology. You know, only we know how, you know, there are not enough psychologists now. But yeah, so I was ticking away the boxes. For most of my life, I was ticking away the boxes that I thought society expects me to. So, you know, doing well at school, going to university, getting married, buying a house, having a child. And at some point, I was sitting there and I'm like, this is not making me happy. Like, literally none of this. Like, why I have done everything, literally everything that you would expect somebody, you know, growing up doing it. Why is it that I feel empty inside?
Yeah.
And that's when obviously I was going into Vedic astrology, Tao, you know, chakral systems, and a lot deeper and also in psychology, although I didn't went back to uni then yet. And then it started making sense that how much I lived as my not self, how much I lived as my conditioned self, and where that come from. And once I started unpacking everything and getting to root causes of everything, I was like, I'm not living my life. I was literally not living my life at all. And I drastically changed my life. Yeah, and it was difficult. It wasn't easy, but they all also knew that that way of living wasn't making me happy. I couldn't live my life, the rest of my life, the way trying to self-soothe and pacify with unhealthy things just to make myself feel all right. I didn't want that. I wanted to fully feel alive. Like, you know, that's one of the things I think we don't actually want the better job or bigger car or more money. We want to feel alive. That's the only feeling that we all crave by doing whatever it is we're doing. And when you are going to direction that actually makes you feel dead inside, you know you're going to the wrong direction. So that's kind of my earlier kind of I got to where I got to. And then after obviously going back to university, I took the plunge and started doing full time, reading birth charts and combining it with psychology, because it's unbelievable how detailed you can see someone's, for example, unhelpful beliefs on their chart.
Right.
You know, like where they stem from, what was those situations, and you know, things that they've gone through, that they developed these unhelpful beliefs based on their planetary situation in their chart. And obviously then having that psychological background as well. And hence I went back to university, because I'm all about real practical transformation. So in human design, I'm 3-5. So I'm all about experimenting what works, what doesn't work. And I'm 5 it's about practical help and practical support. I can't just be theoretical. That's why I don't teach how to read your chart. I don't teach, you know, what that means. There are so many teachers out there, and those are 6 lines who are amazing at doing it. I'm not there. I'm actually there to work with you one-to-one or a small group and transform the problem that you have. It's all about that.
That is so much information, Laura. And it's so interesting because, well, there's a few things there. So you are quite obviously a high achiever that is very independent. To move countries takes such bravery. To do qualifications in different languages, to be multilingual, for one. I am always incredibly impressed by anyone who can speak their own language, never mind multiple languages. And to be able to transition from different parts of your life and focus on what you actually want and what you actually need, I think is really interesting. And a lot of people that I talk to who are now self-employed or have set up their own business, they have almost come full circle in a way that it sounds like you have as well, in that they, when they were young, they had a list of things that they thought they should tick off to be happy or to be considered successful, and they did that very quickly and then realized that wasn't that wasn't going to make them happy. It might make them an achiever, it might make them successful in other people's eyes, but for them that wasn't what they needed. And I'm really interested with what you said about birth charts, because I've never been involved in anything like that, so I don't really understand what it is. So can you tell me a little bit more about birth charts and what that means?
Yeah, so I use 2 systems, well, basically 3, but I'm not going to bore you with details. So basically, astrology, obviously we have so much stigma attached to astrology in Western world, because it was made a pop astrology, and it's your sun sign, and it's nothing like that. The true astrology, the origins of astrology and the science behind it, is nothing like the pop astrology that we have stigma attached around it. Because, you know, when you look over history, how many highly influential people have had in-house astrologers. You know, royal family always had an astrologer. All of the presidents have always had an astrologer, like in America. We have, you know, so many things. However, you know, when I explain what astrology is, like, I compare it to personality psychology, because personality psychology is statistics. Certain type of people who have these attributes also have these attributes, let's say. You know, if we take big 5 and big 5 personality traits, and we're saying they don't really change over your lifetime, you know, it's like an openness and neuroticism and all those kind of things. And if you score high on neuroticism, you'll have these type of behaviors, let's say, and it's statistics. You know, for majority it's going to work, and there's going to be outliers who that doesn't work. In astrology is exactly the same thing. You know, for most people, let's say Mars in Aries will give them a really good aptitude for sports, and let's say Moon in Cancer would give them very caring nature. And it's statistics. It's collected over thousands of years of statistics, depending on how the planets have moved. And basically what it is, at the second of you born, it's like a snapshot of the sky where all the planets are, in which kind of zodiac sign they are, and how they interact between each other, what angles they stand from each other. For example, if you have a moon opposite Saturn in the time of your birth, you will always feel detached from your dad.
Okay.
You know, because Saturn represents your dad, and Moon is your emotions, and that, you know, and there are, you know, obviously millions of those potential combinations of things. And again, it is statistics. So, but you also can see things like I said, your unhelpful beliefs, the patterns that you have in relationships. You know, what is your potential? But potential, you know, from the psychology side, an esoteric psychology side, potential is success you allow yourself to get, like to reach. It's not, the potential isn't something that promised you, because you can have a potential for whatever, singing, and you never choose to do that because you have free choice. And that's the thing with astrology. It's not all predetermined. It's there to guide you. You can take it or leave it. I use it because it works, and I make my life easy. It doesn't mean it's not challenging, but it makes me being able to deal with it because I understand it.
Yeah.
So, and obviously I also use human design, which is part of it is astrology, but it's also chakral system, I Ching, Kabbalah, all those very ancient systems from old traditions put together in one. Human design is only developed in the 80s, so it's not an old system, but the techniques it uses to build the system are all ancient. Some of it is 5,000, 6,000 years old techniques, you know.
Yeah.
So I use it in the same way some people use just the personality assessments and personality psychology.
Yeah. Okay.
But I find it a lot more, there is a lot more depth to it, because it also looks at your karmic patterns of potentially of your, you know, family trauma, and you know why you and your mom and your grandma has repeated very similar cycles as in a specific area in your life and things like that. So yeah, it combines the psychology and astrology in the work that I do. But yeah, I don't know whether that explains you a bit more about astrology.
Yeah, it explains perfectly, because when I probably had that belief, like many people do, as you've just alluded to, that when you talk about birth charts and birth signs, you just talk about, like, I'm Capricorn, so it's the little paragraph that you see in magazines or newspapers that say, right, if you're Capricorn, you're going to have a good day today, kind of thing. And that's the extent of my knowledge of that sort of approach. So it's really interesting. You've quite obviously got a massive passion, and you use that approach in your day-to-day life and probably in your decision making, in your planning, to support you in making those decisions and finding your path through. Which leads me really nicely onto the next question, actually. So you've got that passion, you've got that understanding, you've got that interest in that area. What personal skills or what attributes have you developed over the years that you think have supported you with your business success alongside that passion?
So personal attributes, I think I'm super direct. So I don't sugarcoat anything. And that's why I wouldn't be, although I'm super caring and intuitive, I'm very direct in the way I explain you your chart. And because of the intuition, it overlaps to, I can see your blind spots. And very often, because obviously I can see your chart and I'm talking to you, I can see what you can't see about yourself. Yeah. And often it is that people don't want to look at that part because it's easier for them to ignore that it's not there, or they actually really can't see it. And I'm like, obviously I would never do that, because, and that's my the education in psychology comes in. I would never do it to harm anyone. It would always be in a safe container that I know I can push it, and I wouldn't push anyone vulnerable. I wouldn't do that. Of course, no, but I'm talking about most of my clients. I'm super direct. I'm like, that is one of my attributes that have super helped me in my work, because it doesn't work for everyone. But for people who that works for, that's why I have so many repeat clients.
Yeah.
So, I do one-to-one, just one session of birth chart reading, let's say, yeah? And I explain you everything there is, as much as is possible in 1 hour, the main things about your birth chart, your personality traits, what you're really good at, what you should focus on, what you're not good at, and you shouldn't waste your time doing it because it's just waste of an energy, what your unhelpful patterns and beliefs are because of your birth chart, and so on. So that would be like an hour reading. And because of my directness, I think people, and passion, people come back. Although I do quite a lot of social media, I think most of my clients come word of mouth, or people buying gift cards after their sessions with me for their friends and family. And I think, because then obviously they know, and they know where they're coming to. It's not going to be like really hand holding and everything is fine kind of thing, because I want you to change something in your life. If something doesn't work, I want you to, first of all, discover, knowing your first birth chart is discover. And then I want with my energy to empower you, and then you transform it. So my motto, or, the idea behind my business is discover, empower, transform. And I will handhold you with the discovering thing, but being direct. Then because of our energy exchange, it's empowering. And then the transformation is then what you do after it. If you just look at it, nice information, but I'll just going back to my old ways, that is your free choice. That's your free will. We all have it. Nobody has cancelled your free will, even if, there are birth charts, personality, psychology, or whatever. There's still free will. So so that would be one. Directness is one. My ability to see blind spots is the second one. That I have really developed. And I think resilience, and I think for business success, the directness, resilience, adaptability, and seeing blind spots really helps.
Yeah.
Because go on.
No. I was going to say, because you just said you are very direct and you do see people's blind spots, and some people will really like that, and some people will really struggle with that honesty and that directness.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find yourself in situations where people aren't open to hearing what you've got to say to them based on their birth chart? How common is that? Because people don't like to be told what they would acknowledge as a weakness.
So people who have a lot of masculine energy and it's slightly wounded will really not like to have any advice. They would be like, if it's not logical, if you can't prove it, although we can see how planets do affect us, when moon affects tides, everything that's with water is affected by moon. That police and emergency services will tell you that at full moon they have full waiting rooms. Sun affects us. When it's up, we are active. When it's dark, we are not active at all. Now we also know that Mercury retrograde affects us and we make mistakes when writing things and technology goes a bit, weird and so on. Obviously, we can't blame everything and anything on it. It's not about blaming something for it. It's about understanding and how I can use it to improve my life.
Yeah.
To align who I am to how I'm living. But your question was how people, let's say, not open to it. Yeah, certain groups of people are not open, like very strong. So I sometimes work with men because I work with women and then they are so happy about it and they see so much transformation over time. Obviously, they want their partners to also know it. And men are very differently wired. We come from gatherers, women. So we like the transparency, the different ideas, like what's there? What's kind of this thing? Could I try this thing? That looks a bit, So we work very kind of like that way. Yeah. Men work very much this way because they're hunters. They come from hunters. So it's a very one direct line. And for them, like, what is the point of knowing all these things? Like, what is the aim? Like, what is the aim of this? Like, what is the end goal? And often on these things, there is no one end goal. There is just transformation in your life improvement overall because you undo unhelpful belief around your money or around relationships or around authority figure. And then your life starts shifting. But there is no one kind of thing, when they go to shop to buy a bread, they know how much the bread costs, what they're getting and what that bread's going to give them. With these kind of things, it's really strange. So men would be one group that's kind of sometimes dubious and they're very guarded when they come. And I completely appreciate it because I understand where they're coming from. Also, Capricorns, very logical, especially if you'd have, let's say, your Mercury, Sun, and one of the other closer planets, Mars or even Venus in Capricorn, you would be like, why do I even need this? Like, it's all like, whatever, I'm just going to do hard work and it's going to come. And you're right. Nobody has ever cancelled hard work and success that comes from hard work. And every single Capricorn will always tell you that they reach success from hard work. Especially it's not just one planet in Capricorn, but there are multiple aspects to it and so on. I have very close friends. My partner is very strong Capricorn. One of my close friends is like true Capricorn. And none of them, they can like, yeah, it's kind of interesting what you say, but does it really change anything in my life? Probably not. So and then there's Pisces who want to know, for example, everything about it, But yeah, and then there are people who are like to stay in victim mentality. And for them, it doesn't really matter what you say or because their secondary gain from sitting in that victim mentality is so strong, they get either pity or help or support, and staying in the situation that makes them feel like victim, they choosing to. So for them, that's also can be a difficult client because if it's 20 years victim mentality and the secondary gain is too strong, it doesn't really matter that I could give them the tool for the transformation and explain where it comes from and how it's been affecting their life up till now and what are the possibilities of undoing this. They would still be like, but I kind of like being this. Not openly, but they would be like, I don't think so, it's for me, kind of thing, because it's too much of giving that secondary gain from victim mentality. So that I would say those are the groups of people. But I think more often than not, when they start becoming a little bit more open to it and at least trying something, or even if it's just like, oh, well, okay, I'm going to listen just out of interest, it's something sticks to them after a while. And then sometimes I meet those people 6 months later and like, you said that thing. And that's so stuck in my mind that I can't I can't unsee it now. So it's like there. And because of it, I have changed, some of those things. So yeah. Mm.
Interesting. And do you think is there anything that you wished to have known earlier, in your personal life or in your business life that you think would have helped you in that business journey? Do you wish you'd have made the decision to change from marketing and talent management this earlier, or do your masters earlier, or do you think actually it's all led to the right place at the right time?
I'm more about, if you are open and if you are, self-aware in the ways, then most likely those things happen when they need to happen. If you are open and you're willing to take risks and change, because also obviously my talent acquisition career was great. Like I could have stayed because there were so many benefits to it, but I was like, okay, if I don't try it, go fully in, I'm always going to question it, and I'm never going to know what it would have been like if I did it. And because obviously a lot of my purpose also would have come out and did come out in the talent acquisition, because it is about transformation. It's always, I'm a happy part of HR. Yes, you got the job. I'm a happy part of HR in terms of like, I can speak to so many people and decide which one would be the best fit, and their life improves. So it's the same, it's improvement and it's a transformation. So my purpose is that. My purpose on my chart is make you richer, not just monetary, in any kind of way. So it's a transformation for better. That's my purpose. And it doesn't matter where I'm doing it. Like, for example, if your purpose is organization, let's say, or structure, let's say, you would do that purpose pretty much, what doesn't matter what you do. But when you align it where you have a possibility to do it more of, universe takes care of you.
Yeah.
And it's just magic how when I made that decision, go fully in, how my life shifted. It was scary. It was very scary to do that because I was doing it part-time. But because I was working in tech company and it was original startup that grew really, really quickly, I couldn't do it even part-time at one point because I was working 70 hours a week. So then that what was made me to really look at it and like, can I go without this part in my life just because this part is going great? And I was so missing that part that I knew that, and had the conversations with my partner and decided that I'm going fully in. And it was the best decision. It wasn't always easy. It's like so many times, especially in the first year, I was like, I need to go back to corporate. I need to go back to corporate because there's structure. I know exactly how much I'm receiving every month. There is somebody patting you on the back and saying, you are amazing. There is, team that you can bounce ideas every single day from,
Yeah.
And I was so used to it for 20 years. I missed it for the first year. And then I had to rebuild my village, started going to networking and meeting lots of amazing women like yourself, and seeing how everybody are in different parts in that journey. But it lights them up. And that's what really I'm all about, like about feeling alive. Not just me feeling alive in what I do, but helping other people to understand what it is that makes them feel alive so they don't waste the time not doing it.
Perfect. I was going to ask you another question, but honestly, I'm going to finish there because I think that's a brilliant way to finish. So I'm going to launch into the conclusion. Thank you, Laura.
No, thank you.
Laura, this has been such a fascinating conversation. Thank you for sharing your journey, insights, and the unique ways you help people step into their true selves. It's inspiring to see how your personal experiences, passions, and authenticity have shaped both your work and your success. To our listeners, I hope today's episode has given you plenty to think about, whether it's embracing your own superpowers, breaking through limiting patterns, or bringing more of your authentic self into your business and life. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share Strings to Your Bow with anyone who might find it helpful. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time for another inspiring conversation. Until then, keep discovering your strengths and adding new strings to your bow.